Hey everybody, welcome back to Elias Family Kitchen. I'm Lynn, and today we're going to dive into the delicious world of egg fried rice. There's always been a debate about whether fresh rice or leftover rice should be used with this classic Chinese dish. So let's do a head-to-head comparison and explore the differences in flavor and texture between the two. And I'll be sharing my findings with you. To ensure a fair comparison, I'll be using the exact same measurements and water-to-rice ratio for both batches of rice. The cooking process and ingredients will be identical as well. Let's kick things off by making fried rice with fresh rice. Let's make a fresh pot of rice with a water-to-rice ratio of 1:1 in a rice cooker. I'm using Thai jasmine rice here because I like its fragrant aroma, and its low starch content makes it really easy to separate during cooking. Let's give the rice a quick rinse. Rinse the rice until the water runs clear. I'm draining as much water as possible so it doesn't retain too much water and change the water to rice ratio. Do not waste rice. Let's try to get every single piece of them out. What I have here is 1.5 cups of rice, so I'm going to use 1.5 cups of water. Let the rice cooker do its magic. While the rice is cooking, let's prep the eggs and the green onions. That rice is going to yield about 4 cups of cooked rice. And my general rule of thumb for making egg fried rice is 1 egg for every 1 cup of cooked rice. So I have 4 eggs here. Let's get cracking. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of water into the eggs. A little bit of water makes the eggs more fluffy and makes it more moist when you cook it. And for seasoning, 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper. Beat the eggs until it's foamy and the water is well incorporated. I think this looks good. We're going to need 3 green onions with the white parts and the green parts separated. I'm going to use the white parts to cook at the beginning with the eggs and the rice, and then the green parts for garnishing at the end. Cut the green onions in the middle to separate the white and green parts. Slice the white part of the green onions lengthwise in half, and then finely cut them into small pieces. With the green parts, simply finely cut them. The rice is ready. Let's scoop it out and spread it to cool for 15 minutes. I'm going to fluff the rice up a little bit. Cooling it will make the fresh rice less sticky for fried rice because you don't want to end up with a clump rice when you make fried rice. Okay, let's set it aside. Now let's get walking. With the wok on high heat, smoking hot, I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of oil. We have a lot of eggs and rice. You can use less oil if you like, but if you want restaurant quality wok hei, don't skim on oil. Add the white parts of the green onions. Give it a stir. And then add the eggs. Let it cook for a minute to firm up before stirring. Stir the eggs gently every now and then. Let them cook for a bit after each stir. There are different ways to cook eggs in fried rice. Some people pour the eggs directly over the rice. What I'm doing here is scrambling the eggs first and then mix them into the rice later. The eggs are almost completely cooked. Let's throw in the fresh rice. One thing I noticed is fresh rice is more sticky than leftover rice, and it takes longer to break apart in the wok than leftover rice. While I'm breaking up the rice, I'm also using the spatula to break the eggs up into small pieces. Keep stirring and mixing until there are no more major clumps of rice left in the wok. I'm going to add some seasoning to the fried rice now. I'm using 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, and then 1/2 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder. The key to getting wok hei and fried rice at home is to let it cook sometimes undisturbed for 5 to 10 seconds before stirring. You should be able to hear sizzling sound from the wok. That tells you your rice is getting fried in the wok, and that's why it's called fried rice. You don't always have to cook fried rice in a wok. It is preferred, but not a must. Cooking a lot of rice is tough if you don't have a big wok. So if your wok is smaller, or if you're using a regular frying pan, just cut this recipe in half. Unlike cooking vegetables, which if you cook a large batch, you may not end up getting wok hei because too much moisture is released from the vegetables. Rice doesn't have a lot of moisture, so it's okay to cook a large batch like this, but you just need to cook it for a little bit longer. I have made a video about how to get wok hei like the restaurants at home. Feel free to check it out. I'll link it in the description. Look at that. When you see charred spots on the rice, it's a sign that your fried rice has that smoky wok hei flavor, just like you would get at the restaurants. When the fried rice has some of those charred marks, you know it's perfectly done. I'm adding the green parts of the green onions to add a fresh taste and a splash of bright color to the dish. I'm not using soy sauce for seasoning, but you can add a bit if you want. Just be careful not to use too much because it can darken the rice and make it look less appealing. I'm going to give it just a little bit more salt. And finish off with a tiny bit of white pepper. And it's ready. Fried rice with fresh rice is done. Now let's switch gear to making fried rice with leftover rice. Here's some rice I made yesterday with the exact same water to rice ratio. Leftover rice tend to have less starch, so it's less sticky. We're going to cook it in the exact same way. I'm going to fluff it up with my hand. Fluffing the rice will make it much easier to separate in the wok. The leftover rice will be cooked with the exact same process and seasoning. The origin of fried rice is to reduce waste and use of leftover rice. It is really handy to have leftover rice. You can whip up a fried rice dish in just 15 minutes. Egg fried rice with leftover rice is done. Okay, so both fried rice done. This one is made with leftover rice and this one is made with fresh rice. Let's give it a taste test. I'm going to start with this one. Now I'm going to try the one made with fresh rice. Both batches of fried rice taste fantastic. My family couldn't tell the difference between the two. I personally think the one made with fresh rice is slightly more moist, but the difference is very minimal. So let's wrap up this egg fried rice experiment. I think that there's no significant difference in flavor or texture between the two, whether you use fresh rice or leftover rice. So use whichever one suits your needs. My recommendation and preference is probably more on the practicality side because leftover rice would allow me to cook up this egg fried rice dish in 15 minutes. And when you are pressed for time or you have a hungry kid, this really is a game changer. Besides, using leftover rice does not compromise the quality of fried rice. I hope this sheds some light on the age-old debate of whether fresh rice or leftover rice should be used. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.